What's going on, man? Welcome back to the basement. I'm Ron. This is a fantasy football channel. We make fantasy football videos every single day of the week. We will be doing that from now until your fantasy football championships. Now, we got a nice little twofer for you guys, a nice little 2-for-1 special. We got the running back videos dropped this morning. We're doing the wide receiver videos in the afternoonish. We're giving you 2 videos today. So I can kind of, dive a little bit deeper into these players the way I'd want to. We talk about the running backs earlier today. Now we're going to talk about my top 5 pass catchers to pick up off of waivers. All of these players will be under 50% owned in ESPN leagues. And if you want my full breakdown of these waiver wire targets, I release a waiver wire article to the patrons every single Tuesday night. I go over my top 10 to 15 at every single position, how much fab I bid on them, a nice little blurb, just kind of my thoughts on those players. That is all available and more for $5 on the Patreon. That's right here. It'll be in the comments. It'll be in the description. Now, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you leave a like. It helps out the channel a ton. With that being said, let's go.
Thirsty, trying to choose. I know I'm critical. My nitty bag.
All right, fellas. This first one has a real special place in my heart. We're going to talk about my first, these aren't necessarily in order, but my first wide receiver I want to talk about is a must-add this week, Brandon Aiyuk. I know you see the face. That is a man that we love, we respect around these parts. Brandon Aiyuk, he has really fallen from grace. He is according to Sleeper on this graphic, he is the 88th wide receiver in PPR leagues. He struggled this week, but he is someone that I truly believe in. His rookie year was insane. He is someone I still believe is extremely talented. I think that, I don't know, I can't really blame everything on Kyle Shanahan. And if I believe that targets are earned, I can't blame everything on the quarterback. It is just a series of events that I cannot understand. But there have been some positive signs. He saw season highs across the board on Sunday. He had 88% of the snaps. He ran a route on 97% of dropbacks. He had more routes than Deebo Samuel. Now, that doesn't mean, he's better than Deebo Samuel. If the team sees him better than Deebo, that's obviously not the case. But now we want him to at least be the top 2 wide receivers out there in 2 wide receiver sets as the X wide receiver, and then Deebo Samuel off the line of scrimmage. That's all we could hope for. He saw 7 targets, which is huge, a 25% snap share, target share, which is also huge. If he could maintain a 25% target share from here on out, he would be, a top 36 wide receiver at minimum. And he has finally, this week, dipped under 50% owned on ESPN. If there was ever a time to go out and grab Aiyuk, I'm not saying, empty out your fab budget for him, but he's somebody that I want on my teams if he is on waivers. Now, he turned in all these season highs. He turned in 7 targets, 4 catches, 45 yards. So nothing crazy. So I don't think that anyone's going to go out there, empty their pockets for Aiyuk. But if Aiyuk is on waivers, you want to go grab him because he is, a lot of these guys on waivers, I'm going to talk about Jamison Crowder. And you can talk about guys like, just scrubs, like Marquez Valdes-Scantling. A lot of these guys you can pick up off waivers. But Aiyuk is truly a talented player. And I know that doesn't seem like it thus far. But we talk about a lot of this stuff in the offseason when I do my mainly dynasty content. And by the way, I can't wait to start cranking up dynasty content again. I think I'm going to do 2 dynasty videos at the end of this week, which will be really fun. Or maybe 1 dynasty video, but it'll be really fun. And this is the kind of stuff that I would look at is sophomore comp. So we know that some of the most predictive things for wide receivers is what they do in year 1. In my opinion, in my book, year 1 stats are the biggest indicator for future wide receiver success. I care about year 1 more than prospect profile, athleticism, all of that stuff. Year 1 is the biggest indicator. And the 2 things that we know show the best, indicator for future success with these wide receivers is points per game, so production, and then PFF receiving grade. This list right here that I put up here. All of these wide receivers have an 80 or better PFF receiving grade, and I ordered them by points per game in their rookie year. Mike Evans on this list of studs, or Brandon Aiyuk on this list of studs, all these guys above 80 plus receiving grade in their rookie year. You have guys OBJ, Michael Thomas, Jefferson, Mike Evans, Keenan Allen, Terry McLaurin. There is no misses on this list. All of these guys were studs in the NFL. Brandon Aiyuk in points per game, 1, 2, 3, 4. He was 5th in points per game on this list of studs. He also shows up really good for reception perception. Matt Harmon loves him. He does really good work over there for reception perception. He was a stud route runner. He commanded a bunch of targets. It's puzzling how he isn't, killing it right now. I thought he'd see a sophomore jump. He hasn't seen it yet, but the talent is there. Those year one indicators, like I said, this list isn't his only data point, but year one is one of the biggest indicators we have for rookie wide receivers. It would be more surprising to me if he never turned out another top 24 wide receiver season than if he, came out of nowhere and did, right? So he is somebody that can get on the right track. It's only been 8 games. It's a small sample. He can turn things around here now. Do I think that he can have, the wide receiver 1 ceiling I thought that he once had this season? Maybe not, but I could see him, if you look at the stats at the year end, weeks 9 through 17 or weeks 9 through 18, if he was, a top, 30 wide receiver over that span, it wouldn't shock me at all. I also think that he has a ton of upside given, his athleticism, his yak ability. He was one of the best leaders in yak last year. But I'm going to stop chewing your guys' ear off about Brandon Aiyuk. He is a player that I love. I'm still very high on him long term, but I love him as an ad if he's on waivers in your league. The next wide receiver we're going to talk about, Darnell Mooney. I wasn't that into him when the season started, but he's looked really good. It really just comes down to this Bears offense not having a ton of output, in terms of volume, but the pie hasn't been big, right? But his slice of the pie has been pretty great. He saw 33% target share this week. He had 12.4 PPR points, so nothing too crazy, but he had 9 targets, 6 catches, 64 yards on the day. And he is now kind of it's weird to say this, but he is now kind of cementing himself as the wide receiver 1 on this team. He has more targets than Allen Robinson in 4 out of 5 field starts this season. So with Justin Fields playing, he has been, kind of the one over Allen Robinson. And with Fields, clicking, playing well, he just turned in his best performance of the season this week. He looked really good, 100 yards on the ground, 175 yards passing, a touchdown. The touchdown was beautiful, just dropped it right in the basket. But we had that interception. I want to say the interception was on one of the last drives of the game, but he looked pretty good. We also have Darnell Mooney, who's a deep threat. I think a lot of these throws will start connecting. He was 155 He had 155 air yards first this week. So he is getting down the field. He's getting those really meaningful targets or very valuable targets down the field that if he, converts on a few of them, then he can have a big spike week for your team. So he is still somebody that I think is just very close to 50% ownership, but he is somebody that needs to be owned in more leagues than that at the very least. Our third wide receiver here, we're going to talk about Rashod Bateman. I am once again talking about Rashod Bateman. I want to say this is maybe 4 or 5 weeks in a row that we are talking about Rashod Bateman. Nothing has really changed for me after his bye. I still stand that I love Rashod Bateman, and in his first 2 NFL games, this was a really good tweet from Adam Levitan. He has played on 91 of 126 snaps. He's played 11 in the slot, not what we're hoping for, but he's seen 12 targets for a 20.6% target share, 7 catches, 109 yards, no touchdowns. That is pretty strong for a player coming off of injury as a rookie. He has now got a bye week to get even more healthy. I think he comes out and we could see some big things from Rashod Bateman. He has a very high ceiling. He has that Kadarius Toney, Jamar Chase type, rookie who we don't know really what to expect from that player, but they can come out here, really ball out. So I really like him moving forward. The Ravens have passed a bunch this year, a lot more than they usually do. As long as Sammy Watkins doesn't take away from him being in 3 wide receiver sets or in 2 wide receiver sets, I think that he will be just fine. Someone with a ton of upside. Our next wide receiver we're going to talk about, Jamison Crowder. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. Jamison Crowder is a really good ad, but it does annoy me that during the offseason they didn't move Jamison Crowder. He has been, hurt. He hasn't been that great. He's a decent ad moving forward, but in terms of this is more of a, this is more of a Jets take and dynasty take, but I wish, that they just traded away Jamison Crowder for maybe a 4th or 5th round pick so that Elijah Moore could play in a lot more snaps, because when we look at this chart right here, or this tweet, Denzel Mims played the most snaps, which is very weird, but I guess it's because he's the only player on the team that's built like a true X wide receiver. So it does kind of make sense for him to play the X where Corey Davis would be. I don't know who else would really play X on this team. I think even then you could still run Keelan Cole or Elijah Moore at X and just, have fun. Maybe it was a run blocking thing. I really don't know. Regardless, I'm not excited about Denzel Mims. He only turned in 2 catches for 30 yards despite running the most routes. But with Elijah Moore running under 50% of the routes, 37% of the routes is what he ran. I wish that he could go out there, do what Jamison Crowder has been doing, because I think that Elijah Moore is a really, really good player. But back to Jamison Crowder in terms of this week and why we're picking him up. He has now seen 6 or more targets in all of his games. He saw 9 targets, 8 catches, 84 yards this Sunday against the Bengals, and he got a touchdown called back against him. So he is, Mike White's favorite weapon, I guess. And then I think LaFleur is going to scheme him more and more. When Corey Davis comes back, it'll be a little bit less, but he still has that, that slot role, and he is still going to be fine in that role. He will be, a low-end PPR option, probably like a wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 type guy, which then brings us to Elijah Moore. And like I said, it's annoying for Elijah Moore. Even though, he only played on 37% of the routes, he still had 6 catches for 67 yards with a rush attempt. So they're still trying to scheme him here and there and kind of manufacture him touches, but I don't understand why he is only running a route 37% of the time. In a perfect world, you have Crowder, you have Elijah Moore leading the team in routes run, and you probably have Keelan Cole. With Corey Davis back, I'd hope that Elijah Moore is out, running more routes than guys like Keelan Cole and Denzel Mims. Even though Keelan Cole made a crazy good catch, Keelan Cole is still pretty good, but you want to develop Elijah Moore. You don't want to keep him on the bench, have him cold. He never really develops, and then you have a Denzel Mims situation on your hands, right? Where he didn't get enough playing time in his first year. It's murky going into year 2, and then the GM and coaches have, we haven't seen enough from our rookie wide receiver. Let's go draft another one. And then it's just this relentless cycle over and over again. Now, kind of like with the Eagles and getting like J.J. Arcega-Whiteside and then Jalen Reagor, and then they, regardless though, I'm kind of getting off track here. This isn't really strictly waivers talk, but I think that Elijah Moore is still a fine ad because he is getting worked in. He's making the most of his opportunities. He can always earn more playing time as the season goes on, as most of these rookies do. And I still do love Elijah Moore as a talent and as a prospect. So I think he has a lot of upside in this offense moving forward, which then brings us, that's 5 wide receivers. But I also want to talk about some honorable mentions here. First honorable mention, Van Jefferson. I hate that I have to keep on mentioning Van Jefferson, but he has looked pretty good as this deep threat type wide receiver. I wasn't high on him coming out of school. I still don't think that he's going to be, long-term a really good wide receiver in the NFL or even a good wide receiver in the NFL. But he just saw 6 targets, 3 catches, 88 yards. He has this deep threat ability where if you shove him in your flex spot, you can maybe bank on a long receiving or a long reception. That's what I did in my home league. I got 10 points from him in a 0.5 PPR league after the Devontae Adams news, so that wasn't too bad at all. A high-scoring offense. He also has this hidden upside. He is one of the few wide receivers where I think he kind of operates as a handcuff, because I do think if something was to happen to Cooper Kupp or Robert Woods, I do think that Van Jefferson would go out there in 2 wide receiver sets and would probably get a pretty sizable upgrade from where he's at right now in terms of target volume. Then our last honorable mention, our only tight end of the day, Dan Arnold. I can't tell you why Urban Meyer loves his tight ends, but he does. He uses his tight ends. He used James O'Shaughnessy before he got hurt. Then he trades for Dan Arnold, gives up meaningful draft capital for Dan Arnold. Gave him 10 targets for 8 catches and 68 yards this week. So any Jaguars tight end is pretty much startable moving forward. So Dan Arnold is somebody where if he's on waivers, maybe you have Gronk or a tight end that still is out, or a George Kittle, Dan Arnold is a really solid replacement. Now, that is going to be the video. That is going to do it for us today, fellas. Again, if you want access to all of these guys broken down in, micro detail, that'll be on Patreon, patreon.com/Ron Stewart in the description and in the comments. I love you guys. If you made it this far, please subscribe, leave a like, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm going to go eat dinner. I'm going to go watch the Monday Night Football game. I will see you guys tomorrow for our trade targets video. Also, I'm going to put the outro up. I haven't put music on it yet, so maybe I'll just do a nice little. Sometimes, if you guys notice, I've been doing a little acapella on these. I got the juice. I got the juice. I promise I'll put music on this soon.